There has not been anything confirmed on the ground, but Weather Service radar is indicating that this storm is capable of producing a tornado. That storm, if it is indeed on the ground, would be near Kenner at the moment. Now, again, Bruce was kind of pointing out how you get that bow. Sometimes you can get kind of an inflow of winds and you can start getting some rotation and circulation in that storm that can produce a tornado. So let's kind of analyze this. Yeah, you know, there could be some coupling of the winds. It looks like if it was, it would be kind of in between where our text here says Kenner and the text says Metairie. So basically from between the airport out toward Causeway, there may be some rotation within that storm. Let me zoom in a little bit more. It'd be north of Harahan. Let's see. Let's go back to the reflectivity to show you that the storm itself, if we did have some rotation, boy, I tell you what, it could easily be right here. So let's zoom in a little bit tighter. And boy, it looks like if it was holding together, if it was right there, it would be moving toward Old Metairie, kind of south of I-10, maybe along I-10 in Metairie, already past Kenner. It looks like, just basing this on our imagery here, that if the storm is indeed producing a tornado, it's moving toward the east at about 20 miles an hour. So the storm in question right now that is definitely worth analyzing is a storm that is very capable of producing a tornado, really sitting and moving into the heart of Metairie right now, kind of along I-10 and approaching Causeway. So for folks within the path of this storm, folks in Metairie, eventually moving into the city, stay indoors. This is going to be something that's going to be a very dangerous situation moving in the direction of Metairie and eventually continuing, if it does hold together, in the direction of the city. So kind of using, and I apologize, I know our radar is right now what you see on camera, but I'm turning our camera out along the lakefront to try and get any kind of visual of if there's anything that we can see, and I'm not encouraging anyone to go out there. Okay, this is just in, our director Brett is telling me, I appreciate it, Brett. The causeway is now closed in both directions, obviously with this storm sitting over the city. The causeway is closed in both directions. So again, we have a tornado warning that is in effect for Metairie, and if we're looking at the area that is affected, we're talking about around I-10 in Metairie, from between the I-10, nearing Bonneville, nearing Causeway. Let's see, let me widen out a bit. It's going to be right in here. If we have any kind of circulation, it is right in here. So it is north of Harahan in Metairie and moving in the direction of Old Metairie. And if it does hold together, eventually moving into the city. So that is where we are right now, getting indications of a possible tornado on the ground. And again, if there is one on the ground, it is moving towards the east at about 20 miles an hour. I've got our tower camera up, and Brett, if you can pop up our tower camera. I'm just taking a look now at, well, what you can see and what you can't see. And again, our camera here is looking towards the west. What you really can't make out is just to the right of the screen is Heritage Plaza right at the foot of Veterans, and we're looking at the interstate. Xavier University is down at the bottom. Let me see if I can widen out at all, and then we're going to kind of pan a little bit just to see if we can visually see anything. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, you can see the buildings. We're looking out of our tower camera here in Mid-City. You can see the buildings out along the lakefront, and we'll kind of, I apologize for that, and pan down. We just got a lightning strike here at Fox 8 and kind of lost control of our camera there for a second. I'm going to keep panning over a little bit more toward the south to see, you know, I'd like to be able to visually confirm anything, and, you know, with the rainfall, it becomes very, very difficult to do that. I mean, obviously, you're going to have plenty of lightning, a very heavy rainfall. But again, the storm itself, if there is indeed a tornado on the ground, you're looking at an area, if we can switch back over to Viper radar, Brett. If there is indeed a storm on the ground, it is moving toward probably past Bonneville now, and approaching Causeway. So let's go back to our velocities and see if there's anything that may be indicating. You know, there are several little areas that there may be some kind of little weak rotation. It looks like there, boy, I tell you what, might be a little something. What was that, Brett? Okay. We are going to be covering this storm, obviously, as now the metro area is being inundated with some very heavy weather and the possibility of a tornado on the ground. Again, if there is a tornado on the ground, it looks like it'd be right around the vicinity of I-10 moving toward Causeway. Looks like more toward the Old Metairie area where that storm could be. We don't have any visuals of a tornado on the ground, but this is radar indicated by the Weather Service office, and this tornado warning is going to remain in effect for, let's see, till 12:15. But what we're going to do now is we're going to actually kind of regroup and restart. Fox 8 News at noon starts right now.
From Louisiana's home team, this is Fox 8 News at noon.
And welcome back. Continuing coverage of severe weather moving into the New Orleans area right now. To recap for you, Causeway, it is closed, and we'll let you know when that reopens, but probably, at least for the next 30 minutes, it will be closed. But the big deal is we have a tornado warning now in the heart of the city, right now approaching parts on the northern end of the lakefront of Metairie. So, of course, Chris Franklin and I, we've been keeping you updated over the last hour or so. Chris Franklin in the Viper Control Center indicating right now the heaviest storms right along the border coming in on the south part of Lake Pontchartrain on the lakefront, anywhere from Kenner over toward Metairie, and now it is extending over toward Lake Vista and also toward the lakefront of Orleans Parish. So again, right now Causeway Boulevard, here's the I-10 corridor, anywhere from Bonneville to the Parish line, heading off to the west toward Veterans, also toward Williams, just inundated with heavy rainfall. And again, this is the area that we're watching for the potential of a possible tornado that Doppler radar does indicate. So we've had some signatures over the last 15 or 20 minutes where we've seen a lot of wind, we've seen a lot of heavy rainfall, and what we can do is now, Chris, if we can come in and put it into the mode, into the Barron's button, and maybe look at some of the wind fields coming in throughout this area, or even the possibility of hail, we'll certainly watch out for that. Now, here's what's going on now on the extreme southern end of the causeway right now. We're seeing some velocity and winds here, but what we're looking for is basically where the red and also the green would meet. And basically within this vicinity here, coming in just north of Old Metairie, Doppler radar works like this. It can actually detect rotation, so winds coming away from the radar and on the back side of it coming to the radar, that's where we get our wind velocity. So that's why on the radar signature, we see some of the reds and the greens where they meet. That's actually wind rotation that indicates winds right now coming in, boy, I'll tell you, right on the heart of the lakefront into Metairie, right near Old Metairie, winds at about 70 to 75 mile per hour gust at times. We're seeing 1 inch hail. That 1 inch may not be hitting the ground that large because we're still in the lower 70s. It may be melting as it comes down, but nevertheless, we could certainly be seeing a huge hail core of pea-sized hail from Metairie and Old Metairie coming in throughout parts of the lakefront itself. So if you are anywhere, I would say from Causeway to the parish line, and you live just north of the interstate, this is going to be the danger zone where we're seeing that very strong thunderstorm moving eastward with the potential of, again, if not a tornado, we're seeing a lot of very strong gusty winds, and also we're seeing just an abundance of very blinding rainfall. So again, if you do not have to travel, certainly I would stay put for the next 30 to 45 minutes or so. Again, here's Causeway Boulevard. Here's the interstate on I-10. So anywhere, basically, from Williams Boulevard, traveling along the interstate all the way to the parish line, that is where right now we're seeing the heaviest rainfall, and again, the potential of a lot of gusty winds and a lot of rainfall. So with this, we may be seeing the possibility of some rotation. Now, sometimes we get rotation within the atmosphere where we don't see the funnel actually hit the ground. As a result, we do see a lot of wind created, but it may not actually be a tornado. But nevertheless, what we look for is the possibility within the wind fields. Again, the velocity, when you look in this area here, I'll tell you, something is going on right to the area of Old Metairie, just along the lakefront right here. So as we look, this is the lakefront. As we get into areas around False Drive and Metairie, heading off toward Lake Vista, and also throughout parts through the area, we're seeing winds up to 70. Again, the couplet returning again. And whenever you see this rotation couplet, that does indicate winds of up to near 70 miles per hour. Also, the possibility, again, of a tornado. That is why we are under the tornado warning that is in effect now for the next 12 minutes through about 12:15. So let's show you what's going on. Let's take a couple of camera shots right now as we look outside, and you'll notice here's I-10 at Causeway, and boy, just blinding rains right now. You'll notice no traffic north or south. The causeway is closed, so with that, we're seeing a lot of heavy rainfall. And in fact, as we were reporting earlier when Chris was on the air and I was kind of doing the background stuff, we called the causeway itself. That would, well, here's some cars actually coming in, so they may have reopened the causeway as of right now. But oh, that's Causeway and I-10. Okay, so that's Causeway and I-10 as the cars are moving in around that vicinity. But the actual causeway, it is closed as we're seeing right now. Boy, look at the fairgrounds. I'll tell you, if today were the beginning of Jazz Fest, wouldn't that be a bummer? Tomorrow should be much better. But nevertheless, here's our shot coming in from the City Park camera, looking back toward the fairgrounds where, of course, the Jazz Fest will be going on. A lot of heavy rainfall. They're going to probably have to put a lot of the hay on the ground because, of course, they're going to have just a lot of muddy grounds out there. And downtown, you just can't see a thing. This is a shot normally where you would see the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, you would see the Benson Tower. You just can't see anything. So that blinding rain is moving in over the city, and of course, it's going to take a little bit of time. Lots of power outages. This is Entergy's website, and you'll notice coming in around areas of I-10, here's Loyola and Williams, a huge pocket of power outages toward areas of Kenner. Also, right on the St. Charles and also Kenner line, numerous power outages as well. So again, we're starting to see some pockets with just a lot of wind and a lot of rain. This is the area just to the south along the causeway. As you move off to the west, I would say right around Clearview on the south side of the interstate, a huge pocket here near Bridgedale of a lot of power outages too. So again, we are seeing with the winds, we're seeing a lot of power outages. In fact, in Metairie, if you look at Metairie, this is probably around 10 to 15% of entire Jefferson Parish with some of those warnings. And John Snell just handed me again the tornado warning. Let's see. Includes now until 12:30. They just extended it, including Timberlane, Marrero, Harvey, southwestern New Orleans Parish, including the cities of, let's see, St. Bernard and DeBelle Chase, also Chalmette. So we're looking at that warning extended where Doppler radar and the folks at the Weather Service, they are indicating that something is going on within this storm itself. And as we showed you on the velocity, Viper radar, the reason why we have it is because it's exclusive. It can actually come in and show you the winds to and from the radar. And where this couplet is, whenever you get the VTI, again, this is a tornado index, heading up to 4.5 to 5, on Viper, it does indicate a pretty strong possibility of a tornado that is possibly developing. Now, Chris, let's put that back in, and what we'll show you is some of the cities affected. Now, coming in toward Carrollton, of course, that is in the mid-city area, not far from Fox 8, at about 12:06. So right now, moving into the area, heading into the fairgrounds throughout parts of Gentilly at about 12:11, and then heading into the city of New Orleans at about 12:12. So in the next 5 to 8 minutes, right now at 12:06, this storm system is moving into all these areas. Fox 8 at about 12:09. Right now, we've got the generators going. In the event we lose power, we're going to stay on the air with you just in the event we lose power like they are in Metairie. But nevertheless, the tornado index at about 4 to 5 does indicate we're looking at a definite possible tornado on the ground as it begins to move off to the east. So this is a vicinity we're looking at right now, coming in near Lakeview. We're moving a little bit farther east now of Old Metairie, that storm system moving eastward. Lakeview right here along the lakefront itself. As you'll notice, just taking a little power surge here at Fox 8, but nevertheless, we're seeing just a lot of wind and hail. And I'll tell you, don't like seeing this. What you see is here, with hail coming in on the southwestern flank of a storm, gusty winds on the northern end, chances are this is a definite tornado. Right now, from the meteorology, I've been doing this for 24 years, Viper radar, also Doppler radar technology indicates if you see hail on the southwestern side of a storm, strong winds on the northern end, something is going on. If it's not a tornado on the ground, it's a definite funnel that's not that far away. So if you do live in the heart of the city, seek shelter immediately. If you do have anyone that may live in this area, and you can call them, tell them that this is a very dangerous situation. Tornado warning in effect as of right now. Viper radar does indicate we are seeing quite a bit of hail coming in on the southwestern side of the storm, lots of wind on the northern side, so that does tell us that we've got some type of rotation coming in right along the border and coming in right on the border from the Orleans-Jefferson line heading eastward just to the north of I-10. So if you live, say, Bonneville, heading off toward the east around the parish line north of I-10. Right now, you're in the gun, under the gun with that danger zone with the potential of a tornado. Now, remember, we did extend this tornado warning in effect through 12:30, so it's been extended now for another 15 minutes or so because it's not getting any weaker. Thank you very much, Rob. Good report there. Boy, a lot of damage over toward Kenner. Plus Pontchartrain, a friend of mine sent some pictures where they had some damage out there too. So really widespread power outages and damage heading over toward Kenner. So again, we're still watching a tornado warning that's in effect, and I'll read it to you once again. North Central Jefferson, including Timberlane, Marrero, and Harvey. Southwestern Orleans Parish, including the city of New Orleans. Northwestern Plaquemines Parish, including Belle Chase, and Western St. Bernard, including Chalmette, Wyclosky, also violent. So this is that big storm system that was still moving eastward over the last 30 minutes that was responsible for all the damage from the western areas, not only from areas of Gramercy, but now moving off to the east. Now, Chris Franklin has more information for us. Any new warnings or information? Chris, back to you.
Well, thanks, Bruce. Luckily, you know, things keep changing here so rapidly that, you know, at least we've got improving news. The tornado warning for Jefferson Parish has been allowed to expire. That has been canceled. For Orleans Parish, that has been allowed to expire. That is now canceled. Now, let's see. I apologize. Just reading information as it comes into us. Really, the area that is now at greatest risk is parts of Plaquemines and then also St. Bernard. So around Reggio, Wyclosky, we've been analyzing the storms around there, and there are still some of those telltale signs of the hail. Obviously, some very strong winds that we've already seen. And, you know, even if these aren't tornadoes, it's damage, wind damage, tornado damage. Either way, you've got damage. And in many locations, as we have seen that strong storm that moved from Kenner across Metairie, it looked like it may have moved into Old Metairie, parts of the city, and then kind of continued out to the West Bank, Chalmette, Belle Chase, and then now around Reggio. So as we kind of analyze the storm where it is at the moment, some strong winds and some hail very likely around that storm, and we have already seen what the storm has done. So putting a lot of faith in our tools here that is most likely what is happening right around Reggio and near Delacroix. So as the storm continues moving toward more the southeast, at least areas that are no longer at risk appear to be pulled out of the warning. So the tornado warning no longer in effect for Orleans, no longer in effect for Jefferson Parish. Now the watch, the entire watch area actually will remain in effect until 3 p.m. So that is different information from the Storm Prediction Center and from the National Weather Service office, is that the watch area will stay in effect until 3 o'clock, only because it was supposed to expire at 1. Well, it's almost 1 now, and we still have these storms moving into the area. Now, most of the region is now out of the watch area, but for really Plaquemines and St. Bernard, now you folks, it's kind of your turn now to get in on some of these very heavy storms and severe weather. So for folks around Reggio and Delacroix, it looks like this is the area that you need to be paying very close attention to, where there could easily be some broad circulation. And boy, it doesn't take much to get that circulation to kind of constrict itself and become a tornado, a funnel cloud, eventually making a touchdown and becoming a tornado. So in the areas around Reggio and Delacroix, those are the areas at the moment that need to be paying very close attention to the storms that are rolling through your area right now. Still plenty of lightning, very heavy rainfall, and very gusty winds. Let's widen out just to show you that we still have an area that is down near and approaching Grand Isle. So from, it's to the northeast of Leeville, but approaching Grand Isle, there is actually a tornado warning there. So this is for lower Jefferson Parish, not northern anymore. This is lower Jefferson Parish. And as we just get new information into the Weather Center, just kind of updating again, the watch is going to remain in effect until 3 o'clock, but not for everyone. Again, as these storms push east, everything west has started to settle down. And now let's see, this information is coming in from the Weather Service office. There was a wind gust reported out at the New Canal Station out in Metairie along the lakefront. A wind gust of 49 miles per hour. It doesn't have to be a tornado. Winds nearing that are going to do some serious damage, and we have already seen that occur across much of the metro area so far this morning, and now as we continue on into the afternoon. So we actually have 2 warning areas, one near Grand Isle, let's see, let's kind of analyze that storm and see what's been happening down a little bit closer to the coast. Let's go to our severe index, our Barron button as we call it. Doesn't appear to be anything on that. Let's check out the velocities, and you know, other than some very strong winds, I don't really see anything that is indicative of a tornado, and certainly not like the storms that we had seen around the metro area. But we do have, and I don't want to, you know, discount any of these, we do have a tornado warning in effect for around Grand Isle and Lower Jefferson, but the one that is had a history of doing some serious damage across the metro area is this one right here, where, okay, and you know what, we have a VTI, that's our Viper Tornado Index of 6.8. So there is most likely something on the ground around Alluvial City and approaching Wyclosky. So looks like it's just to the north of Delacroix, but approaching Wyclosky. So our time here is 1:02. So in the next 8 minutes, folks in Wyclosky, you need to take shelter immediately because this storm is headed your way. And this is, again, the same storm that we have been tracking from Kenner through Metairie, the city, West Bank, and now into the more marshier areas and nearing the coast. So north of Delacroix, still folks don't want to let their guard down in Delacroix, but it looks like maybe Wyclosky. And, you know, as these storms change direction and we get brand new information every couple of minutes, everything changes. Now look at the VTI, the Viper Tornado Index number. That's dropped to now 4. So perhaps the real risk of any kind of tornadic development in that storm may be weakening a bit. However, I don't want to downplay that at all, because this, again, is a storm that has already had a history of doing some significant damage across all of the metro area, from Kenner, again, across Metairie, and into the city, West Bank, and now more toward the coast. So for folks in Wyclosky and around Reggio and Delacroix, this is something that you need to be very mindful of. And again, let's analyze the storm where you are going to run it. Again, those purple colors are indicating hail, and the reds indicate strong wind. So maybe the wind's not quite as strong as they had been. That's still very damaging wind. And of course, you are going to see hail within that storm as well. So let's clear that out, go to the velocities where, you know, there is definitely some kind of rotation within the storm, whether it's just a broad overall circulation within the thunderstorm cell itself, or you're getting some tight rotation that is developing into a tornado. And again, you know, whether it's straight line winds or a tornado, damage is damage. And we've already seen this storm produce quite a bit of damage. And the storm continues to show signs of, if nothing else, producing some very strong winds. So the storm right now that is worth watching, and you know, you kind of see that little inflow right here where you kind of get the heavy, sometimes that indicates maybe there is a little bit of rotation in that storm. So again, the storm itself, the VTI, kind of give us an idea, and this is exclusive here to Fox 8 thanks to our Viper radar. This gives us a better idea of what's happening in these storms. And you know, the risk of a tornado, though, may be weakening according to all of our algorithms and calculations from the computer. That still does not mean that the risk is gone. Again, just want to update that the tornado warning for southeastern Jefferson and southeastern Lafourche, again, that was the one I was pointing out nearing Grand Isle, is going to remain in effect until 1:15, and the Weather Service is indicating that that there is an indication that there was a tornado perhaps 11 miles northwest of Grand Isle, or about 13 miles southeast of Galliano, and that storm is moving toward the southeast at around 10 miles an hour. And then to also update again, the tornado warning that is in effect for Plaquemines and St. Bernard. And so we'll kind of pan up there. Again, this is going to remain in effect for the next few minutes until this storm is kind of out of and past Delacroix and Wyclosky, and then it starts to get more into the marshier areas where there is no population center, so that risk suddenly decreases. So conditions are beginning to improve for most of the area, but it is still a dangerous situation and a concern for folks around Delacroix, Reggio, and Wyclosky. And our director, I'm not sure if it's Brett or not anymore, if we can jump over to our tower camera. I've got it aimed toward the Washington Avenue Canal just to show you how high the water is. just the rains that we have already seen certainly did produce some street flooding, and we've seen a number of pictures of street flooding around the area, and we want to thank viewers for sending those in. But just to show you that, you know, the water is not to the top of the canal. It has been flowing, so the pumps are working. Everything is doing what it needs to. But boy, when you get an inundation of the heavy rains that we saw, you are going to get standing water. So that is going to be a concern as conditions are starting to improve. But again, for folks, Wyclosky, Reggio, and Delacroix, it is still a concern for you. And then also down toward Grand Isle, still something that we need to watch for the next couple of minutes, but at least it is beginning to improve across most of the area. Bruce?
All right, thank you very much. I'll tell you, what a morning it's been with thunderstorms, tornado warnings, some damage over toward Kenner and other areas, and again, a very fluid situation as this storm system moves eastward. We have a quick update for you. Audubon, Audubon Charter School, they are now closed. They're asking parents to come on the Uptown campus to pick up your children. The power outages there have, again, they're closing the school, so Audubon Charter, Uptown, you may want to go and pick up the kids. Gentilly is open, but Audubon, if you have any children, they're asking you to come pick them up due to that power outage. Now, we also have some more video coming in. This is Old Araby, and boy, look at the rain that flooded some of the streets over there. So Old Araby, just again, seeing a lot of heavy rainfall as we saw that tornado warning that was in effect in your area. Anywhere from 3 to 5 inches have fallen throughout much of the region, and whenever you get a big rainfall in that short amount of time, the problem is you get the street flooding. And again, Old Araby seeing quite a bit of street flooding as well. So as we take a look, this is on Octavia Drive, over in Chalmette. And you can see some heavy rainfall there. And let's see, it kind of looks like maybe, is that a street? Yep, it is. A street that's pretty much flooded right there. So just a lot of rain over towards Chalmette. Now, we do still have tornado warnings in effect now throughout parts of St. Bernard Parish. So Chalmette, Wyclosky, Violet, you're not out of the woods yet. We still have a very big cluster of thunderstorms, all that moving your way. Look at Old Jefferson. My wife said the same thing, and now I know what she's saying. The winds almost look circulating within the rainfall. So as you can see, just the winds and the gust of rain blowing down the street. Definitely a scary situation. So we saw a lot of rainfall in Old Jefferson. Look at unbelievable video. Look at that rain just continuing to blow, circulating at times. Look at the wind. Wow, just incredible. Picture paints 1,000 words. I'll tell you, here we have Old Jefferson again. After a lot of that rainfall moved out, it did leave behind a lot of flooding. So there you can see also toward Metairie, we have some street flooding. And if you live in an area prone to flooding, well, in the next couple of minutes, it looks like the heaviest rainfall will be moving out of Metairie. And now it looks like that rain and also that flooding should go down. But if you live in extreme western St. Bernard Parish, we're seeing still a lot of rainfall, so areas prone to flooding there will still have that major issue. Now, this is Ridgewood near Airline Drive in Metairie, and viewer shot this, and you can see just a lot of heavy rain, swirling winds, swirling rain as that storm system moved on in. So it's going to be very interesting when all this moves on out to really start getting some of the damage reports. A lot of people are still at work. A lot of people may not be home. And as they come home, as the day goes on, we're going to get more information on just what the situation may be. Any type of damage, as we saw over in Kenner, Rob Masson, he was live for us. A lot of wind damage and roof damage there. Here's West Loyola. Speaking of Kenner, just a lot of wind and debris. Look at the fence, pretty much blown down. That shed kind of blown around just a bit as well. So just a lot of heavy thunderstorms, a lot of wind, and also we now have verification of quite a bit of damage as well.